heart will never be the same, but I'm telling myself I'll be okay, even on my weakest day. I get a little bit stronger.
You're listening to the leader of divorce recovery, transitional into dating and building relationships, inspirational transitional coach, speaker, and blogger, Cece Schatz. Cece is the founder of WGSN-DB Going Solo Network and My Friends Connect, the leading hip internet social support group helping hundreds through the journey to living their best lives. Together, let's welcome Cece Schatz, talk show host of Going Solo with Cece. Well, welcome to the show. This is Cece with Going Solo. It's so great to have you guys back. I just missed you so much from last week, so I'm glad that you're returning with us. You are listening to Going Solo on WGSN-DB Digital Broadcasting, Going Solo Network. We are going to go straight into what we're talking about today because I think it's so important. We are going to be talking about the topic of selling your family home as you're going through divorce. And sometimes that can be very difficult, but finding the right real estate individual to help you move through this will definitely make things a little bit easier for you. So today I have with me Barbara Deggans. Barbara, welcome to the show.
Thank you. I'm glad to be here.
It's wonderful to have you. So tell us a little bit about yourself and how did you get into doing real estate?
Oh, well, my dad planted the seed very early when I was a child. He would often buy a home and fix it up, and we would move into it, and then he would buy another home and fix it up. So I learned very early to appreciate the potential in a house. So I always wanted to be a real estate agent, and I just, for some reason, never did it until I recently got divorced and decided to change careers and do what I'd always wanted to do.
You know, that is so fascinating because I have my Friends Connect divorce support group, and we have it in both the Tampa Bay area, Sarasota. We're branching out into other areas. And part of what we do is connect with each other. But we realize that we have to start redefining and restructuring our lives. And partly in our careers, our jobs, things like that change when we're going through divorce. And sometimes we're able to actually start digging into that bucket, so to speak, you know, the one that we put aside all the things that we would have done or could have done, but we got wrapped up in our family and into our married life that we weren't able to do. So we start drifting through that and we pull out some of these interesting things. And it's so fascinating to hear that you started going into real estate after your divorce. And I'm sure it's because you have thought about economical factors of it, but also the joy of selling real estate. You get to meet people, you get to do a lot of different things. So good for you.
Oh, thank you.
For moving on and doing what you actually love to do. And it's so great. So tell us, if someone is going through some of these hard challenges in life, they're thinking about starting to restructure themselves and move through, what would you suggest for them to do if they have to sell their family home? What are some of the things that they could start thinking about today?
Well, the first thing I would suggest is to try to get along. And I know that applies to every aspect of getting a divorce, but especially when you're selling your house. If the two people are not in agreement on selling the house, it becomes a real nightmare.
And how do you go about determining what would be the right thing for them to do? Who lives in the house? Do we sell it? Or how would you come about figuring that out?
Yeah, I mean, like everything else in a divorce, it's completely negotiable, but you do need to make those decisions. And I would suggest making as many of those as you can before you even get involved with a real estate agent. You need to decide who's going to live there, who's going to pay the mortgage. Is the person who is living there going to be cooperative as far as maintaining the condition of the home so that it's presentable for sale? You know, all of those things have to be worked out ahead of time. And, you know, that can be very difficult when you're divorcing, you know, as everything else that you have to negotiate. It's just, you just have to make those decisions and stick to them.
So really what you're saying is you have to kind of divide out both the emotional aspect of the home because it's your family home.
Yeah.
And then you have the financial standpoint. You have
exactly.
A business, put your business cap on and say to yourself, is this going to be a good financial investment for me? Do I need to continue on with this house? Can I afford it? Sometimes
exactly.
we can't afford to live in the home that we so love. But that doesn't mean that we can't love another home.
My exact situation, when I got divorced, I couldn't afford to stay in my home that was basically my dream home. So we had to decide that we were going to sell it, and who was going to live there and who was going to pay the payments. And, it was a very difficult decision, but you do have to separate the emotion from the financial. If I couldn't afford to stay there any longer, I had to be realistic and proactive in helping sell it for as much as we possibly could.
You do have to think about repairs of the home. A friend of mine who has a beautiful, beautiful home, but it requires a lot of work, a lot of maintenance for her. And being later in life, she's thinking, maybe she doesn't really want that type of commitment anymore.
And when you are selling your home, to get it sold quickly, which is often what people want in a divorce situation, is they want it to be over with as fast as possible. So to sell it quickly and to sell it for as much money as possible, you want to make it as pretty as you can. So even more important than if you were just selling your house because you decided you wanted something bigger or didn't have a time constraint.
That's a great idea. So we want to try to really kind of spruce it up a little bit. And what are some of the areas, if you're going to sell your home, what are some of the areas that we need to look at to spruce it up a little bit?
Well, curb appeal, of course, you don't want people to drive by and not be interested enough to come in. So you definitely want to do curb appeal. That would be the landscaping, keeping things trimmed and the grass cut. But also if you have a flower bed that everything is dead, you want to rejuvenate the flower beds and maybe even painting a fence or front door. You want the entryway especially to be as nice as possible. A lot of people they're kind of standing at the entryway, negotiating with each other, thinking about how they're going to be when they go into the house. So they spend some time in the entryway. So that is a big area. Obviously everything from the curb to the door is important. Once you're inside, the rooms that people focus on the most are master bedrooms, master baths, and kitchens. So anything you can do to spruce those areas up, whether it's painting or, most people, especially in a divorce, don't want to put a lot of money into the house that they're about to sell. So, little things that you could do. Cleaning is a big thing. Just a really good deep clean makes a big difference.
Now, what about depersonalizing your home? Is that best to do before put it on?
Yes. Declutter and depersonalize. You want to get, even if you want to have a stager come in and stage the furniture that you have so that it makes the home the most presentable. But decluttering and depersonalizing are huge. People don't want to come in and see your pictures on the wall. They want to come in and imagine their own pictures there.
Okay, now what is a stager? You had mentioned a stager. What is that?
A stager is somebody that you can hire to come in, and either they will bring their furniture, their company's furniture, or they can use your furniture, and they just set up the rooms in the most appealing way. They make sure every room has a purpose, and they arrange the furniture in a way that makes the house look as presentable as possible. And they're pretty affordable. It's really something that's worth investing in.
I've heard of that before, absolutely. Also, what I've also heard is that really need to make the rooms what they're supposed to be. For instance, often you'll go in and they'll have maybe the initial living room area would be a kid's playroom. So you really want to maybe set that up as an actual living room or a reading room or something like that. So people, when they're going through the home, they can envision themselves in the home.
Exactly. And, the person buying your home may not have children, so they may not to imagine it as a child's playroom. They want to see it as a more neutral space. So that's another thing that the stager will do, or that you can do with the advice of your real estate agent, is you want things to be as neutral as possible as well.
Well, that's a key thing. I think you just said is that to get the advice from your real estate agent. So find someone like yourself, Barbara, that you know, that you trust, that you admire, someone that can go with you to the home and even look through each and every room and just travel through it, and they can help you and say, hey, you need to clean this area up, or maybe you need to get a dining room table and take the kids' toys out, get a dining room table to put in because a lot of people give up their dining rooms now because they don't use them. They just use the break room and they let the kids in the dining room. So you really can use the advice and the expertise of a real estate agent in many facets, not necessarily in just someone that's going to list your house and sell it. They really will help you, walk you through some of the other things. Let's talk a little bit about financing, because financing is a very scary term for someone that maybe didn't have a mortgage on their own or anything like that. Now, when you are working with someone, let's say a single person, are you able to help them by introducing them to finance individuals that can maybe help them understand what they need to be able to start getting a place of their own?
Yeah, definitely. As a real estate agent, I have contacts with lenders and learned about all sorts of down payment assistance programs and community service organizations that help people buy homes. So a real estate agent is a great resource for that. Then they will connect you with, what I tend to do is I interview the client and I find out what their situation is, and then that tells me which lender to send them to or which group to send them to that would benefit them the most.
Now, let's say, for instance, they are not ready to actually buy another home. They want to sell their home. They want to get out from underneath it, but they're just not quite sure what they want to do with their life, where they want to go, maybe where they want to live. Do real estate agents, do they sometimes help with rentals?
Yeah, we have access to rental listings, and some agents prefer to not work with rentals, but most agents that I know, if your client, for instance, if it's a client that has just sold their house, they will go ahead and help them find a rental as well, or at least refer them to an agent that specializes in rentals.
Right, absolutely. So you can turn towards a real estate individual that can put you in a direction that can maybe help you with some rentals if that's what you decide that you want to definitely do, something like that. Aspects with regards to moving, and I know that a real estate agent can really have a lot of prepared information for you, like for movers and things like that. Do you keep all of that stuff ready, available, so that you can help your clients with all those different aspects of moving?
Yeah, definitely. Like, I have everything from home inspectors or anything that you're going to need to buy a house. We have resources of movers and storage facilities, and we keep all of those contacts in our back pocket because quite often clients come to us and they want more than just something from the real estate transaction. And so to give good service to my clients, I try to make sure and have all those references for them.
And that's so important because, again, as you're traveling through divorce, having to restructure, redefine your life, it's nice to be able to have someone, turn to someone that has some of the information that you might not have, or that it would take you a while to research and find the right person. But if the real estate agent has referred the movers several different times, they know whether they have good service or not. They know kind of the people that can kind of direct you into who to use, and if you're not familiar with that particular area. And also the financing is a huge thing. And so it's nice to have someone to be able to redirect that. A little bit about the emotional side of moving, because that is so hard when we're coming from relationship loss, to think that we have to pick up everything and we have to move. I know I've been suggesting to individuals, because even though they're not quite ready yet to sell or they're not ready yet to buy, I tell them to go out and start looking at open houses. Because realtors, they get paid commission. They don't get a salary, right? Do you guys get paid?
Right.
No, you don't.
It's commission.
It's commission only. So you don't want to take up a real estate person's time, but you need to start like treading the water, I think, a little bit on thinking about selling your home, thinking about moving forward in your life. So I suggest to a lot of our people at the divorce support group to start going to open houses and start looking at other homes and thinking about putting yourself into another home.
That is a good way to emotionally start to disconnect from, especially if you don't want to sell the home and you're being forced to by finances, or, even the court is forcing the sale of the home. It's a good way to not only divorce yourself from the person you're married to, but divorce yourself from the house as well. If you can go and start to envision yourself in other homes, I think it makes the process a lot easier. But I will say that as a real estate agent, I don't mind having clients come to me who aren't ready yet, but just want to ask questions or just want to be steered in a direction. I would rather that, and then I can start to form a relationship with that person. That way, by the time they are ready to buy or sell, we kind of already feel like we know each other, and I already feel like I have an idea of what they might be looking for or what their needs might be. I don't have a problem with that at all, and I don't think most agents do either.
Absolutely, because there's so many questions and there's so many different things you have to think about when you're thinking about relocating to somewhere else, whether it be in your particular neighborhood, in your particular area, or if you want to move somewhere else a few miles away, or even to another state. It's good to be able to connect with someone that, number one, understands what you're going through. Number two, has all the information that you might need and has the connections that can connect you to the right people that you need to talk with, and also understands the emotional aspect that you go through, because real estate individuals certainly know, and you don't even have to be going through something traumatic like divorce, because moving and divorce is like the two top stressful acts and life-changing experiences that people go through.
Exactly. And put them together, it's double whammy.
Oh, absolutely. I really do like the idea of going out on open houses and getting yourself into the thought process of possibly moving forward in your life. But what I would suggest is, if you're going to take that advice to go into open houses and look within your range. Don't go out to homes that you know you're going to be nowhere near able to afford. Kind of start figuring out where you are with how much money you'd be able to spend, and look in the homes of those type, because you want to be able to envision yourself possibly living into another home. You do look at a house that's $1 million and you can only afford 100 or 200,000. You again cause yourself a bunch of heartache. So why do that? So
right. I mean, that's just another thing to be disappointed about. So yeah, that's not a good idea. Yeah. And if you're not sure, now that you have one income instead of two, if you're not sure what you can afford, just like most real estate agents are happy to answer questions and help you way before you're actually ready, most mortgage loan originators are happy to do that as well. They'll run your numbers and they'll be able to tell you this is the price range that you're going to need to look in.
Right. And that is very important when you're going to start looking. And it also helps you to understand if you need to rent, or if you can buy now. Maybe you need to rent for a little while to get your credit in shape, or you need to gather up some more funds in order to make your down payment. Mm-hmm. It just really makes a big difference for you. So to talk to someone and start planning your financial aspect of moving, I think is a great idea.
Right. And a lot of buyers in particular, a lot of times they think they have to have a much higher credit score than they actually do have to have. So they might be doing all of this effort to improve their credit score that isn't even necessary.
That is so true. With today's economy, things aren't what they used to be. We used to be able to have a really high score, but now a lot of lenders are a little forgiving.
I just had someone call me the other day who their credit score was in the 700s, and they thought they had to get it higher in order to get a mortgage. And I said, no, you're plenty high enough. You don't need to keep working on that. You can go ahead and apply for a loan.
But there's also different ways to finance too, isn't there?
Yeah, there are lots of different ways. Even if you just go to a traditional lender, they have lots of different options for you. You can go FHA, or if you're a veteran, you can go VA. Those loans are very beneficial to the consumer. But even conventional loans, they have low down payment conventional loans now. And if you do have credit issues, you can even get the sort of a hard money rate if you really want to buy and you don't want to rent. And there's a nonprofit organization that's called NACA that most people don't know about, and they actually write the loans there, and they don't require closing costs or down payment. Talk to a lender, or you talk to a real estate agent. They find out your situation, then they can send you to places that you probably don't even know exist.
That's excellent. Well, I tell you, I think you've given us a lot of information today and a lot of something to think about, because even myself being single, I was very afraid. I started looking at one time at buying, and then I became very overwhelmed with it, very scared of doing it. And I do feel that talking with somebody like you probably would have helped me to be able to get over that hump, to be able to move forward, because often I think that we do feel like when we've lost something so terribly that's hurt us so badly, it's hard for us to think about making a commitment to something else. And so buying a home is a big, huge commitment. However, I think it's today's economy and today's world, it might very well be a good opportunity for someone to be able to make that financial investment.
I would definitely suggest to, don't take on more than you can, or don't take on more than you have to. If you can reach out to a professional that can take some of that off of your shoulders, definitely do that.
So tell us how we can get a hold of you if we'd like to give you a call to look at some houses or talk about our finances. How do we get a hold of you, Barbara?
You can call me. You can message me on Facebook. I get clients reaching out to me from just about every avenue there is: email, texting, calling. I have a website. It's called buyingtheburg.com because I specialize in St. Petersburg, or they can call me.
Is it bind, BIND, the THE, and it's BURG?
Yeah, Buying the Burg.
That's great. So it's Barbara Deggans, Deggans, and you can reach her on Facebook and also on her website, buyingtheburg.com.
Yes.
Well, thank you so much for being on the show. I do appreciate it.
No problem. I was happy to do it.
Wonderful. Well, this is Cece with Going Solo, and I hope you learned something here today with regards to real estate, finding the right realtor for you. And I think Barbara's a great gal, and I hope that you will, if you are in the St. Petersburg area, that you contact her and she would be able to help you. If not, please contact your real estate association in your local area. I'm sure they'll be able to help you with someone and connect someone with you. If you're not comfortable with that real estate person, find another one. You want to work with somebody that you feel comfortable with. This is Cece signing off, and I'll see you next time. Bye for now.